Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, November the 11th, 2020. It is currently 4:39 p.m. Central Time. And well, I'm here at my house and I just heard a report on a podcast I was listening to. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, I've got to go live as soon as possible and give everyone an update because I have stated this now I don't even know how many times. What we have to be concerned with is truth. We have to pursue truth, find truth, no matter where that leads us. And pursuing truth in a situation that's constantly developing, well, you can report something and then 30 minutes later you realize, wait a minute, there's new information. I've got to post a correction as soon as possible. So I need to post a correction because here is what has happened. Someone reported basically that they witnessed voter fraud. Then they were interviewed and then supposedly they recanted of their claim of witnessing voter fraud. Then that report was released to the media that, hey, the person recanted. Now the person who supposedly recanted of witnessing voter fraud is now claiming that they did see voter fraud. So basically, in a sense, that they are recanting of their recanting. They recanted, and now they're recanting of what they supposedly recanted of. So I don't really know what the truth is. It's frustrating because either the media just is completely misleading people, which is always possible. But I mean, it's one person supposedly seeing some voter fraud and there's nothing he saw that would be enough to overturn the election. But this story now is becoming a relatively, I won't say a gigantic deal, but it just adds to the overall problem that we are experiencing is that no one is going to trust anyone. And when no one can trust anyone and you can't believe anyone, and nobody has any more confidence in the democratic, electoral process, and nobody can trust any politician, and there's just no trust in anything, you're going to end up with a lot of chaos, which is currently what I think is happening. We're going from chaos to chaos. So here's the situation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the podcast I heard. I have not had a chance to do any extensive research to find out what the truth is. I did report, and I think the article is currently on the theologycentral.net blog, theologycentral.net blog, and it gives the story of, here's this, I think it was a postal worker who supposedly saw this voter fraud. He supposedly reported it, and then when he was interviewed, he said he recanted of that. Now supposedly now he is saying, no, I did not recant. I stand by what I witnessed. So I'm going to play what I heard for you, and you can draw your own conclusions. But I want to do everything I can to make sure that whenever we talk about these things, we're as accurate and as fair as possible. So I'm going to play the entire clip. Now, this clip definitely comes from a perspective that obviously believes there is widespread voter fraud. That would be their perspective. So you have to then take that into account. If you've got someone reporting the story that the man recanted and they don't believe there's any voter fraud, then you got to call that into account. And well, again, it just leads to where is the truth. But here we go. I'm going to play this for you. Give me 1 second. I'm doing this on an iPad Pro and the screen. There we go. Okay, the screen finally flipped. So it was really weird talking into the screen that way. Okay, so here we go. I heard this podcast literally, 15 minutes ago, and I'm going to play all the way up to the point where they discuss it. They make a lot. You may hear a lot of things here that I may disagree with, but I just want you to hear their report, and then I challenge you to investigate it. So here we go. I'm going to mute the mic and play this.
This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV for Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day for our friends in the Commonwealth of Nations, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and elsewhere. November 11th, 2020. I'm Derek Gilbert. Topic number 5 today. Move along, nothing to see here. That's the story from the mainstream media, despite ongoing allegations of impropriety around the presidential election last week. The Epoch Times featuring a discussion of a data-heavy review of ballots registered within the electronic Pennsylvania election system. According to the piece, over 51,000 ballots were marked as returned just one day after they were sent. This is extraordinary considering that the average time to deliver a ballot or any piece of mail in the U.S. Postal Service is currently about 2.5 days. So, according to the publicly available information from the state of Pennsylvania, or Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, 51,000 ballots received within 1 day. But it gets better. Another 35,000 were returned on the same day that they were mailed. And, most incredible, 23,000 were delivered before they were postmarked. We've invented time travel, apparently. But again, move along. Nothing to see here. This is all conspiracy theory. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtains.
Now, make sure I just jump in right quick. Everyone's making these claims. Remember my thesis. The point is, yes, they make these claims. We should investigate these claims. But if these claims are true, if these claims are accurate, the issue is, why aren't the Trump lawyers using this information? And if they are using this information, then what is happening in the courts? What is going on? That's the issue. Claims can be made in every publication in America over all the crazy accusations in the world. Accusations do not equal truth. So just make sure you hear that. Now they're getting ready to talk about the person who said he saw voter fraud, then supposedly recanted, and now he's recanting of his recanting. All right, here we go.
Move along. Nothing to see here. This is all conspiracy theory. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtains. U.S. postal worker Richard Hopkins is denying a story in the Washington Post that claims he has recanted his allegations of backdating of mail-in ballots. Hopkins came forward last week, which, by the way, would explain the strange dates, wouldn't it not? Yeah. Anyway, Hopkins came forward last week to disclose or expose what he called specific irregularities, which he personally witnessed. However, the Washington Post on Tuesday ran a story claiming that Mr. Hopkins recanted his statements. After reading the Post story, Hopkins went public, calling the Post's story false. He did not, in fact, recant. However, the Post refuses to remove the story, has rewritten it several times to keep the falsity intact. Here's the most recent version of the headline, just screen cap this morning. Postal worker recants, officials say. So the Post's position now is, we're not saying that he said it, we're saying that officials said that he said it. Of course, the message received by Washington Post viewers, readers, that is that the postal worker has changed his story, which he now denies. But the Post isn't going to report that. This is the gaslighting of America. This is why nearly half of America still believes that Vladimir Putin helped get Donald Trump elected, despite all the evidence showing that the actual Russian collusion was in the feeding of information to Christopher Steele, the MI6 agent, to put together the Steele dossier, which was used by the FBI to get FISA court approval to spy on the Trump campaign. In other words, the Democrats and the Hillary Clinton campaign colluded with Russia, but half of America has never heard any of the evidence documenting that. Well,
all right, there you go. And the Washington Post, the article they screenshotted was the article I was reading from this morning that was that I got in a news notification. So officials are saying the man recanted. He's saying he didn't recant. He's trying to take back the previous supposed recanting, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. You can go back and look at all of his claims. Does his claims amount to anything? But the key is, are the Trump lawyers using his statements? Are the Trump lawyers using that? Supposedly the White House released, I think supposedly they have 234 sworn statements of people who've witnessed voter fraud. Well, if they have that, don't release it to us. Take it to court. So it's hard trying to figure out these two realities. Reality one is everyone's claiming there's all this proof of voter fraud. Reality two is what the Trump lawyers are actually doing in court. And the two worlds aren't quite they're not connecting. And that's what you have to get upset about. Like either all this information is so overwhelming that there's so much voter fraud that the Trump lawyers are not going to have any problem winning in court, but it doesn't seem that that's occurring. In fact, I just looked, I think if you type in voter fraud right now in Google, you get an article that talks about how the Trump lawyers were absolutely just, I guess the way the article described it, basically harshly rebuked by the judge for what they were bringing forth. And so there's some weird disconnect here. So if there's so much disconnect, then what is the Trump administration really trying to accomplish? Are they really trying to overturn the election results and to prove that Donald Trump was rightly elected and that this election was stolen? Or right now are they simply trying to create a lot of distrust, confusion, and chaos? That's what we're going to have to wait and see. But hey, anytime new information emerges that corrects that brings new light or sheds new light or calls into question a previous report, then I will always be the first to come back and say, hey, that story that we reported earlier, there's been a change, and there's been a change. We'll have to wait and see what happens and how that plays out. All right, just a quick update coming to you from my house. Apologize for sound quality. Standing upstairs in an upstairs bedroom with a ceiling fan above me and holding an iPad Pro. So hopefully it sounds okay. If you have any questions about any of this, or if you have any confirmation or you do any research, email me at newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. All right, thanks for listening. Everyone have a great night. God bless.